Okay, people in class as well. Good. So, like all are not in class. Some of you joined from home, and some of you are in class, right?
Yes, Mr. Harsh.
Good. Okay. Who joined from class? Do they have access for writing in the chat or asking the question?
Yes, they can tell their professors to ask the questions.
From students side, anybody want to ask any questions related to yesterday's session, or otherwise today you have any doubts, please ask Harsha sir.
We'll start in just 1 minute. Let me just set up the things, then we will go. Rightly, we can go ahead now. So today's session is about cloud control metrics. How many of you have heard it earlier or already aware about it? What it is CCM? What is cloud control metrics? Anybody know about it or ever heard? Just say yes in the chat, or if you're not, say no. Okay, so assuming no for the majority that never heard what is CCM. All rightly, let's talk about it, and by end of the session you will be aware about what is CCM and why do we need it. Well, let's suppose like we all are in India and we go on the left side of the road, right? If someone coming from the right side, which we say like they are coming wrong side, and then people or cops they're stopping them, they're cutting them, right? It means there is a standard that we will go only left side, and while coming also left side. Now this is a standard, this is a standard made by government, that road rules saying when we are going upside it should be on the left side, right? So mean to say here is, if we have some standards, some rules, then only we can do the measurements, then only we can see what is going wrong. If there is no rule, then everybody just going here and there, nobody will be able to compare or manage the traffic, right? So just an easy example we are starting with standards. Today we are talking about standards. CCM is also a standard. Before we understood about the standards, little more examples. For example, there, like long time back, I'm telling you a story, and maybe not all the information very accurately in the numbers, but this is a story to make you understand what standard means and how beneficial it is for us. Long time back, there was a company called ABC, and they bought a computer because the work they was doing with the papers or pens or more manual stuff, With computer, they was able to do more frequently, more fast, and they was able to save the time also. So they was happy. They was happy to use the computer. When they was happy, they bought one more computer. When they bought one more computer, and the files which they was creating in one computer, they was able to open in other one also. So both the computers, because of networking, both the computer, because of their architectures, it was same, and it was compatible with each other. These two computers made by same company, for example IBM. And then after a couple of years, there was a new salesman in the company. They saying like, hey, we have new computer, this is advanced level, and the computers you already using, it's outdated, we have more features in that, you can buy one from us. They bought one from another company, for example this is Apple. And now what they wanted to do is they wanted to do the same thing, that the files which they was working or they was creating on the IBM computer, they wanted to open on Apple computer, but it was not working well. It was not compatible with each other because IBM or Apple, they used their own methods, their own terminology to create the machines. So when they doing with their choices, it was not compatible for the world. And this is just an example for company ABC, but there was a lot of cases with similar issue. And there was a organization who made standards for industry, organization making standards for industry, and then they made OSI model. You have heard OSI model, right? Say yes in the chat if you are aware about what is OSI model. So they made OSI model. OSI model, when they made, basically they made couple of layers in that, 7 layer was that, and they said every manufacturer, whoever is making the computers, making the hardwares, they should follow this layer processes. And when they will make and follow the same process, then we can make them working together. So today we have Lenovo, today we have Dell, we have HP, we have blah blah, many more computers. They all are compatible with each other because of standards. So standard is something that giving you a guidance, that how it should be stepwise, like this, layer wise, right? So CCM is also a security control framework, which is cloud control matrix. It is a security control framework that is dedicated to managing the risk in the cloud. Now we have cloud computing, everyone moving, migrating there. Now this CCM was developed to address the lack of like relevant security or compliance issues, because at this time it's a creation like a risk management was focused. And CCM is mean to fill this gap by helping cloud service provider, also cloud service consumer or the customer, you can say. When we are keeping our stuff on the cloud side, there is a risk also, because we are keeping our stuff in someone else's house, right? So let's suppose it's your personal pen drive or hard drive, and you are keeping the files, you will feel more secure. And if your friend or me, I'm saying like, hey, you keep your files in my pen drive or my hard drive, you will feel less secure than this one, because here you have the control on the hardware, on the files, you on the software, whatever you want to do, you can do. But here you will be in a doubt, like if I'm keeping my stuff in someone else's house, then I don't know how they gonna treat my data. What if they make changes in the file? What they if they delete the files, right? So there is a risk. Now this risk should be in a format, in a standard, in a formation that everyone can rely on it. And when they are coming to keep the data, coming to keep the machines on the um, virtual infrastructure, which is we call cloud infrastructure, and there should be some best practices to support the secure implementation for the cloud infrastructure and the services which they are providing for databases, for applications, for storage, and many more, right? So CCM enables them to better evaluate and assess the customer service cloud service providers. And also it includes detailed security concepts and principles with a guidance. Who made the CCM cloud security measure matrix? Who made it? There is a company, there is an organization called CSA. CSA is a organization, and CCM is one of the product, one of the standard, one of the product made by CSA, right? Currently there is version 4 in the market, which is latest. It was, I think, in July 2021 the latest version was released. So which basically guides how security principles should be implemented in a cloud architectures, and what they are recommending to do, what should be done, right? So they encourage organizations to use the CCM as a companion to the CSA security guidance, because it allows users to identify the security controls and understand that how they should be applied, right? So mean to say, currently, or in short, you can understand CCM, the cloud control matrix version 4 is the latest one, and this is a standard for cloud security. Cloud security not only for providers like Amazon or Azure. It is cloud security for customers also, right? Who is buying the services from them. Now standards, this is basically for every single service, every single industry. If I make the standard for any, let's suppose there is a bank, and I'm saying, hey, you would use this service, right? This standard you're gonna use, and it is beneficial for you. I giving any ABC number. A bank, because that is going through the payments, going through the some personal documents, personal information, credit card, debit card information, account information, their data pattern is different. And if that is for education, if that is for institutions, then it might be different. Data format, data pattern is change. So same standard might not be perfect. And also there is nothing like that if we adopt single standard, that is enough for us. Sometimes company are coming with multiples standards also for every industry, for every single task. Like let's suppose for wireless connectivity, there is a different standard, we call that 801, 801.11, right? And then they came up with more different variant versions, because Because today I made a standard, for example, and it does not mean the whole life it would be same. There might be updates. There might be updates in the coming version according to the scenarios, according to the requirement. Like as I said, CCM is coming version 4 because they thought now we need couple of more. So 16 more domains they added in it. Earlier version 3 where it has some 137, I think so, and now it has something more plus 16 into that. So mean to say, always there are updates in the standards also. If we adopt one standard for one of the company, then it does not mean we can sit back. And why do we need standards? Why we cannot make it automatically? Well, how we will be ensure that every corner is secure. Does not matter how experienced we are, how uh, how smart or experience we have, how intelligent we are. Basically, when we are designing a network, an infrastructure, right? So all the corners needs to be fixed. For example, one computer connecting to switch, and we wanted to say that we need a security here. We need a security so that no one can just simply plug in the laptop or desktop without any authorization. So what we can do is we can enable the security on the switch ports, right? So this going to be a little long on the network security side, but I don't want to do that. So let me tell you that wireless we was talking about, then they came up with different variants, different versions, B, G, N. This B, G, N basically updates in the standard, right? Currently there is AX, the latest one, which we call Wi-Fi 6, rightly. So then for every single industry we have, where is that? Yeah. So for every single industry we have standards, like HIPAA is there, HIPAA, which is your Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Now this is the standard for the industry where they are basically keeping the health related stuff, health related data for hospitals, for health institutions, right? So this is basically health or healthcare organizations must implement HIPAA into their business to protect the security, privacy, and integrity for uh, of like protected health information. Now this is also a standard regulatory for which was created and established the for the legal use, and um, the Department of the Health and Human Services, which were, and a couple of more like civil rights was there. So like 2-3 organizations was there who created it, right? Then you have PCI DSS. This is the standard. Now many times you might have seen, like almost everyone today, we are using this online payments, phone pay, Google Pay, right, Paytm. Whenever you open this applications, no, there is this thing is mentioned, PCI DSS. If you never notice, just notice next time when you will open the application, it would be mentioned there definitely. Now what is that? Because if I said like the phone pay blah blah blah, because they are going to talk about payments, they are going to keep the information about cards, they are going to keep the information about transactions, right? And there should be record also, it should be integrated also. Integration, yeah, one more thing I remember right now, the we are talking about cloud security now. The standard which we are talking today is cloud security. Anytime that is related to cloud security, that is related to information cyber security, network security, all these time. Whenever we are talking about security, we basically talk about these three pillars. CIA. CIA. We call it CIA triad. What is that? Confidentiality. Sorry. Yeah. Confidentiality. Now, confidentiality is what basically the confidential data which we are keeping in the storage that should be accessible only to the authorized person. So if there is a bank account, the bank account or the bank information, what is the balance, what are the services, everything should be available only to the authorized person, the user whose account it is. And sometimes it is not even should be showing to the a bank employee who is working inside. And that we call confidentiality, which is authorized only should be accessible for the data. And then you have I, which is integrity. Now integrity is what? Integrity is when any message is started from here to other computer or another system. For example, from our phone pay, we said 800 rupees we want to pay. Now it will go to the bank, will go to the another bank, will go to the merchant. We said 800, it should be 800 from end to end all the way. It should not be 8,000, 7,000 or any, there should not be any number change. That we call integrity should be secure, right? So CIA is always there whenever we are talking about any security in the IT, software, hardware, network, information, cloud, anything. Just remember these three things. All the parameters for making the infrastructure secure, they always talking about these three things always. Then you have A, availability. Now availability is also the good example. If I say, for example, Amazon, we all shopping from there, and Amazon, who's almost the business of there is online. The customer is coming to their application. Application is running on servers. Now this application or this server should be available 24 by 7 into 365. And if because of any reason they could not be available, then per minute, per second or per minute, they are earning a lot. They are doing business per minute, day night, right? So if they are not available, then first of that is business loss. Second is reputation loss, right? Then third is they will lose the customer, because if you are buying something, you're not that this is not available, you would not stop yourself. You would not say like, hey, okay, I'm waiting Amazon for you, when you open the shop I'll come. You're not gonna miss your breakfast, so you will go to another, for example, Flipkart, right? So they lost their customer, they lost their business, they lost their reputation, which is not good. So always security is making sure that this server would be available in the load also, and that is what cloud is providing you. They're saying like, if there is more load, we have elasticity. Basically, whenever we require, we will enable, like we will stretch it upside, we will scale it upside, or whenever we are good with the load, then we will reduce it automatically. And if we are working or making this with our infrastructure, on-premises infrastructure, then it is hard to manage the scalability, or we have to spend a lot. Then yeah, so PCI ESS I was talking about, this is basically payment card industry. PCI, payment card industry. and DSS was for don't remember right now. I think data security standard. Yeah, data security standard, right? Yeah. So payment card industry and data security standard, which is an information security standard for payment card industry, right? Who any organization, any company who is keeping the data related to debit card, credit card, payment, transactions, they also should adopt this. Now, one more thing, let me make this easy. And maybe you are thinking like how we are adopting. Is this a software we are installing in our company, or is this something monitoring tool we do? So let me tell you, when you configure something, let's suppose you configuring a computer, it coming like stepwise, right? It coming like you give username, you give password, now you can set the application, you can secure it, you can update it. There are a couple of steps, right? Now for single computer, there are a couple of steps. Even if same for mobile, when we are starting up the mobile for the first time, it is going through like stepwise. You update this, you make connect to Wi-Fi, you do it stepwise. But for a big industry, there are a lot of steps, and all these steps we cannot remember, right? All these steps we cannot remember as a human. We may miss some of these steps while configuring, and that missing step can be disadvantage for your network, for your data security, or hackers may take advantage of that, and data can be stolen. So every step they will remind us, they will give us a list. There is a like big multiple pages in the standard, and one by one we are going to check, we are going to apply, implement. We're going to check, we're going to implement according to the lines they have mentioned. And this part would be implementation part. Right after that, after implementation, there would be another pages which would ask you like a yes or no question. Did you implement this? Then you can verify. Did you implement this? You can verify. You can answer like yes, 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 no, no, no. And according to that, they are going to give you score like your, like how we getting in the exam, like from 1000 to from 10,000 to whatever the according to standard, and then according to that they are giving you score. And if the scores are enough for get this certification, then only you can write in your information website application that we are PCI DSS certified. When you actually implement that, you verified it, then only they will give you this certificate. And once you got the certificate, then only you can write it on your application. And when we are implementing the security standard, then our data is secure with them. If I'm keeping my data with PhonePe, and PhonePe is adopting this, has adopted this PCI, then I can feel secure, like okay. One more thing, you remember like we buy helmet, and when we buy helmet, what we are thinking is this helmet is not secure. We will buy when there is mention ISO. Remember that, right? This is very common thing, right? We almost used everyone. Why? Because we trust on ISO. We know that wherever it is mentioned, that helmet is secure, right? ISO, again, this is a standard, right? Here it is. So standards always there, directly or indirectly, they are related to our lives also. And then you have another, which is your this CISS, a CIS, Center for Internet Security. This is also the standard which basically control um, for the companies which is seeking for strength their security in the Internet of Things domain, IoT, right? So there are also some around 20 controls across areas: asset configuration, hardware, software, malware defense. There like any recovery or monitoring, continuous monitoring or control. So all that stuff by heart, it's hard to configure, and standards are giving just a framework. Standard is one name. Inside it, there are frameworks. Frameworks might be according to sections. So ISO is one standard, and they have a big family. Basically, it coming with the 27 series also, and coming 31 series also. So in one family, in one standard, there are multiple frameworks, right? Similarly, this what do you call that, GDPR, General Data Protection Regulations, right? So again, this is related to data protections, which is basically residential data. The organizations who are keeping the data related to residentials, their data needs to protect, and how they are protect, so they can follow up this standard, right? Then you have Nist, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. This is a non-regulatory agency in US for the US government. They found long time back in 1919, and they also creating standards for multiple, for example this 800 series, which is part of the basically privacy control groups. And the organizations who talking about the risk management strategies, they should implement such standards for privacy control and security, rightly. And then similarly, ISO, which I was telling you, ISO, they coming with the 31 series and 27,000 series. They are coming with different variants: 27001, 27002, 27003. Like some from them are for requirements, some from them are for control, or some of them are for implementation guidelines, some of them are for measurements, risk management, or any guidelines for principal and basically implement what do you call that, risk assessments, right? So there are FedRAMP. FedRAMP is also the requirements which basically, what you call that, like additional controls for the unique elements of the cloud computing. This is also when you want to keep your federal data in a secure cloud environment, then FedRAMP is also important or mandatory, you can say, for the agencies like government agencies, which where they are keeping the data related to criminals, related to residential, again the your nationality, all that information according to government rules. They want to keep such stuff with, there should not be more risk impact, there should be some private cloud deployments, right? Some organizations who are working with the federal facilities, for them this is important. And then you have CIS, the Center of Internet. Now, Center of Internet Security, basically, this is also, the name itself says Center of Internet Security. Basically, companies who, again, like they want like some strengthen in their security in the Internet of Things again, and couple of similar things. I think this is repeated one. Yeah, we already spoke about it. Yeah, this one. Okay, and here it is, which we have the topic today listed in the uh, basically one another standard created by CSA, Cloud Security Alliance, and CCM is the product. According to this CSA, who made it, according to Cloud Security Alliance, the CCM provides fundamental security principles to guide the cloud vendors and assist their potential cloud customers in the like accessing the overall security risk for a cloud providers. Organizations who implement the CCM is like a way of strengthen their existing information security controls, and it is providing you the control like control guidance by service provider and consumer also, both sides. And according to the specific cloud model type and environment also, they have some guidelines. If you are Azure, they will give you different uh, uh, guidelines. If you are with the AWS, they will give you little different guidelines. According to the cloud environment also, they have some control domains in that. Around 16 control domains that are crosswalked or to other industry accepted standards, regulations. Someone wanted to say? If if you are talking to me, I'm not able to understand. If you're not talking to me, please mute your mic. Thank you. Now CCM, which I was talking about, where I was, yeah. So some of the security standards, regulations, control, and basically it is providing you frameworks to simplify the audits. Now ISO, Nist, this your PCI DSS, all of them are basically, you can say, combination in CSA. This is CSA, CCM is inspired by all these standards which I have listed here in the page, right? Because every one, some of them they are for health related data. Now health related data can be also there in the cloud. Payment data also can be there in the cloud, right? So when we are keeping the data in the cloud, we already using a standard. Then CSA, that's a CSA CCM is there, which is providing you additional strength, keeping all the standards as one, and then making a structure. And in the structure, they are providing you a couple of domains where every type of data which can be secured, like application and interface security is there, audit assurance and compliance is there, business continuity and management is there, operational resilience is there. Resilience and redundancy, there is a difference. Then control, chance control and configuration management is there, data security is there, data center security is there, encryption and key management is there, governance and risk management is there, human resources security, yes, identity and access management, infrastructure and virtualization security, Interoperability and portability is there. Mobile security, security incident management, e-discovery and cloud forensic, supply chain management, transparency and access, threat vulnerability management, all that stuff it is providing you in virtual in this version 4 of the CCM. And then CCM is one basically a standard when you are implementing all this is information security. What I have this one I'll talk about. And once you have applied it, once you have implemented it in your cloud service provider, then CAIQ is there, which is basically giving you a certification. Certification name is STAR. They will give you the certification once you implement. After that, they are going to ask you the question like yes or no. Have you implemented this? You're gonna say yes. You implemented this? Yes, yes. No, no. And according to your industry, what is important, what is not important, according to that, it will get the numbers, get the scores, and then will give you the certification, which is the certification name is STAR. Right? So once you get this STAR certification from CSA, then you can say we are CCM implemented. We have CCM implemented, and then people will start trusting you to keep their data with you. Right now, this whole infrastructure, this structure of the CCM, what all the standards or domains they have, we're going to talk one by one. See, CCM version 4 is structured into 17 security domains and 197 controls. These 17 domains were based on the CSA security guidance document and inspired by major frameworks such as ISO, and each CCM domain defines what category a control falls under. The CCM was deliberately designed like existing non-cloud leading information security frameworks to leverage familiar with those existing frameworks. Basically, what they're saying, or you can say what is the purpose for CCM is any organization that is online, that is offline, regardless of types, is that a provider or is that a consumer, any nature of the enterprise, any size is there, right? Large corporation, small company, whoever using any model, which is your infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, CCM can be used to define what, implement and enforce security requirements, and also monitor their implementations. Now, CCM is also assist companies in translating their internal organizations, operational and this legal stipulations, where they are making a standard for set of like cloud relevant policies, procedure, and technical control objectives, and also CCM providing a tool for internal and external assessment or audits. Now, this is designed to be basically alignment with your, which I show you that CAIQ, Now, with that one, they are going to verify with just a like couple of questions so that controls are being met, And then documents you need to create, and some of them already there. Both the documents will help the auditors to understand if any organization follow the internal governance policies or they fulfill their legal and regulatory obligations, right? For example, based on the internal risk or assessment, any organization might find they identify their they need to protect some confidentiality, integrity, or info availability for the information related to any like manufacturing process or service process. Then this data set, which are providing you couple of levels for the sensitivity and criticality, and wherever you are storing it in the cloud database, and which is processed by a couple of cloud based applications, right? Every single step where the data is saved, we call it like data in rest. Data in rest also should be secure. When data is traveling from one application to another application, or one computer to another computer, or there might be couple of devices your data will travel through, at every single step we call data in transmission, that also should be secure. Data in rest also should be secure. Data throughout this travel also should be secure, which we call integrity, right? Then organizations, they can use CCM to specify their policies, their procedure, or any other technical requirement. They can define the controls. There also will be organizational security programs, which is use their basically control objectives to enforce um, like mandates related to internal user partners, business partners, or further operational teams for the monitorings. Any internal policy or external policy requirement can be fulfilled with CCM, where they are providing you this all 17, which we call audit and assurance, right? Audit and assurance, and application and interface security. Basically, one by one, if I tell you like more deeper inside about every single, it will take a good time, and we do not have time, right? So we have just, I think, couple of minutes, but yeah, I'm definitely going to give you an interview or introduction about all these 17. The audit and assurance domain, this is provide basically designed to support the cloud security providers and consumers for defining the audit management process, right? Audit management process, like where they can um, plan the audit, they can risk analyze, they can do security control assessments, they do some remediations, they can generate the reports, they can review for the past reports, right? So all that stuff they can do in the um, audit and insurance. And application and interface security, or we call AIS, this is again also um, helping for remediation of vulnerabilities which is there related to any automation or any manual code review in the deployment. And also it helps organizations to align their um, security goals with business objectives and regulatory compliance. Then you have business continuity and management. Business continuity, in case there is a failure in the application or a hardware, and also let's suppose there is a disaster. You made a data center for the company, and that data center is basically somewhere in the geographic location, and in that geographic location there is a disaster, natural disaster. And in that case, how we can continue the business. So all that steps, right? Then change control and configuration management. You have a infrastructure, and now you want to make a change in that, in the configuration. So if you are making a configuration change, is there anything you can is there anything which can impact your continuity? Is there anything which can impact your service? Maybe any device or server go down, it should not be there. So all that policies, cryptography, encryption, and key management. When two devices are communicating, the data should be secure, which we call encryption, right? Then key management, how they will unlock and they will encrypt or decrypt data. Jinka Vamsi, please mute your mic. Thank you. So data center security, right? So how here we are talking about little physical security also. In data centers we have couple of devices, racks, all the stuff, and it no one should be there who can simply switch off my router, switch off my server, right? There should be also some security mechanisms. Then data security is again the basically what do you call that, where your data is saved, what are the security parameters we are using there, and when it is traveling, what kind of parameters we are using. Government, risk management, and compliance. Governance is basically when you implement a what do you call that, standard, and then you have operational team. between them Between them, a standard is there, which we call governance, basically standard implementation and operation. This is the one who is matching them, like giving them monitoring guidance. After that, after implementation, how we can maintain it, right? Every single day, how we can maintain it, we can understand where we need improvements, where we have wastage. So all that is done by governance. Then human resources security, which is again basically providing you um, the like what do you call that, between IT security and personal personal interaction with system, technology, assets and data, all that, rules, key elements for the human resources, which is not limited to just personal background screening. Also, who is employment agreements, who agreements they are making, what should be there on the agreements, right? And when we are onboarding any employee, what all the policies should be there, what should be the standard there. Before you hire an employee, there should be some background check. Is this a genuine person, or is this something like he have some cases on his name related to some data stealing, something like that, right? So employment security awareness trainings, all that stuff comes under human resources security. And then you have identity and access management, how we will identify this is a genuine user, and after the access, what all he can do. There should be also a control, there should also be a management, right? All that um, standards, which is for users or your employees or any unauthorized person also who should not come in your network virtually or physically to um, basically access or damage your system. Then interoperability and portability, like different parts. Portability allows applications and data components to continue the work where the same way, like the cloud environment to another without change. Portability is basically achieved by removing the dependencies. We are moving from one network to another network, there should not be a change. If we are moving from one cloud to another cloud, there should not be a change in future. It should be portable, right? If we are keeping up from one place and then we are moving to another place, it should be easily moved, right? Portable feature, which is a like it can be moved easily and reused regardless of the provider, platform, and any operating system, location, storage, any other element for surrounding environment, which could not be a stopper tomorrow in the future, right? Then infrastructure and virtualization security. Infrastructure, which we are talking about, like all the hardware, software, network, other facilities which we required to deliver any IT services. And virtualization technologies, they use softwares to create other virtual machines, which we call hypervisor. They are using the hardware elements, which we call like processors, memories, storage. They using the hardware, but they created the virtual machines with another software. So how the infrastructure policies should be there so that we can utilize properly and secure the hardware, and how should be virtualization policies, we can use the software and we can plan them according to the security and resiliency. And if there is one machine fail or one hardware fail or one software fail, what should be the risk and how we gonna mitigate that risk. Then in it in IT, whatever the devices are doing, they are creating logs. And logs are very useful for monitoring, very useful for troubleshooting. These logs, when it's saved on the device, it cannot be there for a long time because every device they have a small capacity on it. So log should be collected somewhere in the centralized server. We call that log server, or we call that like Splunk is one of the tool which I'm using, but there are many. So organizations, they can collect all their resources, logs, and they can monitor at one place. How that logging infrastructure should be there so that every single device which is part of your infrastructure, part of your big company or the network, they are sending the log at one place. And if there is any critical log, how your server who is collecting the log, how it should inform to the team, and if they are informing to the team, which team, right? So there also should be a structure. Then security incident management, or this e-discovery and cloud forensics. This is basically specifications, like it is designed to ensure that established policies and tested procedures are appropriately responding to the security incidents, and they mitigate the business risk, right? Including any requirement for the security breach notifications. Everything should be covered in this one. Then you have supply chain. Supply chain is also defining and managing the uh, like third party providers employment, third party providers, which are if any third party company is providing you any software, hardware, any service they are giving you, how they are protecting our measurements, how confidentiality they are talking through, working through. Again, the confidentiality, integrity, availability. If we are giving or sharing service, or we are taking service any third party, how CIA triad is working for them also, right? So not for standards are not for only us. If we are making the stuff secure, if we are sharing the information with third party or any other one, how they are taking it how they are taking care about it. That also there should be like policy and procedure for monitoring and managing the security compliances across the supply chain wherever our data is going. Right. Then you have threat and vulnerability management. Threat and vulnerability, as I said yesterday, I think also I told you that vulnerability is something like weakness. Threat is when someone trying to attack in your company, in your assets via software or hardware. Now, vulnerabilities should be reduced or try to make it zero, which is basically part of your design, your solution components, so that threats can be reduced. Threat always will be there. Threat is like, which is something not in our hand. Hackers, they are trying to attack on us, right? So that is threat. But we can reduce the vulnerability. We can make it zero or make it maximum possible minimum number, so that we can reduce the security risk, right? Then you have universal endpoint management. Endpoint, we understand the endpoint is basically computers or printers or these access points, voice over IP phones, all these devices where users are interacted. And now all the users are not very technical, right? All the users in my company are not very technical, but we have to manage the endpoint in a way so that if they are receiving something from the outside, then it should not be impactful for my company, for this particular user also. So for this one also we are using couple of filters so that user PC should be very clean, right? That's all for CCM. Summarize, if I summarizing it, that CCM is a cloud security standard, and it is providing a structure. In these structures, they are providing you 17 domains, which we just spoke about. In each domain, there are some controls. And if we calculate all the controls, there are 197, like 197 types of peaks, 197 types of security parameters. If we go through one by one, then our data in the cloud is secure. That is what CCM is. All right, Lee. That's all from my side for the day. You got any question? If you got any question, just put that in the chat. Okay. So that's all from my side for the day. Thank you very much for joining, everyone. If you have any question, I'm waiting. If you don't, you can drop the meeting. Waiting for 2 minutes. If someone writing or asking a question, write in the chat. After 2 minutes, I'll drop the meeting. Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining. See you tomorrow.
Good morning, sir. Thank you, sir, for your valuable explanation on cloud matrix.
You're welcome, sir.
Hello, sir.
You're welcome, Sharam. Alrighty. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. I'm dropping the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Harsh. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.